Hello and welcome to this yet another edition of the Print Live. And the question that we're answering today is: veterans say armed forces are getting politicized. Do you agree? And the other question is: are armed forces being politicized for electoral gains? The answer to this question is sadly a yes. Yes, the armed forces are getting politicized by the political parties of the country. This is an election season, and it is one of the saddest development that is taking place. Remember that the armed forces belong to the country as a whole. It belongs to India, and it does not belong to any single political party. So please do send in your questions, and I'll try and answer as many questions as possible. But always remember that the armed forces, and I mean the army, the Indian Navy, and the Indian Air Force, belongs to the country. It does not belong to any political party, be it the ruling party or be it the opposition party. So do send in your questions and I'll try and answer as much as possible. I've got a question coming in from Rahul, and he's asking whether the statement of the Uttar Pradesh Chief Minister Yogi Adityanath calling it the Modi Sena is actually right or wrong. Well, that's a very interesting question. The Election Commission is already looking into this whole issue, and they are yet to come out with a verdict. But Yogi Adityanath calling the Indian Army as Modi's Sena is something which is not right, because as I said earlier, it does not belong to any one particular party or to one particular individual. The Indian Army, the Indian Air Force and the Indian Navy belongs to the country, that is India. At the same time, however, I would beg to differ here. I'll go on a different tangent altogether and explain the fact that the armed forces are at the disposal of the government in power. Now in India, unlike Pakistan, the armed forces come under the civilian leadership, and they are supposed to follow every decision taken by the civilian government. So for example, if in 2016, when the special forces of the Indian Army went inside the POK and carried out surgical strike on the terror launch pads, and in February when the Indian Air Force carried out daring airstrikes, targeting Jaish-e-Mohammed camp in Balakot in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa region, of course the credit goes to the armed forces for doing a splendid job. But at the same time, the credit should also go to the civilian government for taking the decision, to go in and strike. Had there had been any kind of an issue that would have been there with the operation, God forbid, and thankfully, touch wood, there was no such issues, but the blame would have also landed at the doorstep of the civilian government. So yes, the armed forces, have done a splendid work. They have done a spectacular job, both in 2016 and continues to, and the Balakot strike, besides at the LC. But remember that the civilian leadership also needs to be given the credit for taking the risk and taking a decision to go ahead and strike inside POK. I have a question coming in, which is from Shubleen. And she's asking what she's generally asking is that whether Narendra Modi was right in calling for votes or first-time voters to vote in the name of Balakot strike and the Pulwama thing. Well, you're referring to the Prime Minister Narendra Modi's election rally. Well, if you are asking me a straightforward question whether he was right or wrong, I will have no inhibitions in saying that he was absolutely wrong in calling for the first-time voters to vote in the name of the martyrs of Pulwama, as well as the Balakot strike. Remember, for the fact that 40 CRPF personnel lost their lives, they gave up their life not for any particular political party or for any particular leader. They gave up their life for the larger idea of India. They wanted to keep India safe. And when the Air Force went in and struck inside Pakistan, in Balakot, in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa province, they were not doing because they were ordered by a political party or by a political leadership. They were doing so because they were ordered by the leadership of the country, because they were ordered by the Prime Minister of the country, who has been duly elected by the people of India. So yes, the straightforward answer to that question is that Modi was not right in calling for the first time voters to vote for BJP in the name of Pulwama as well as the Balakot airstrike. I have a question coming in saying that President's office hasn't received it. Two former chiefs say they never signed it. What about this? Well, I don't know I don't have the name of the person who's asked this question, but obviously you are referring to this latest controversy that has erupted over the 153 ex-servicemen, that is veterans, writing a letter to the President of India, speaking out against the politicization of the army. What stands as of now is that two chiefs, that is the former Air Chief Air Marshal Suri and the former Army Chief General Rodriguez, have gone on record and said that they have not endorsed this particular letter. But at the same time, while they have said it, let's not get away from the fact that many others, including General Deepak Kapoor, including General Kakkar, and along with others, have said, and including the former Navy chiefs, have said that they have endorsed this particular letter. So yes, while there's a controversy on whether how many people really endorsed or not, the fact of the matter is that, if not 153, if not 150, at least several veterans, including the former chiefs of the services, have gone on record and have written to the Rashtrapati Bhavan saying that the politicization of the army, of the forces, is something that should not be allowed. They've spoken out against a statement of Yogi Adityanath and other political statements that have come out. I've spoken to several of them, and even though some do say that they have not really gone ahead and endorsed this letter, but everybody is of the single opinion that yes, the fact is that the army, the navy and the air force should be left out from the political slugfest that is happening right now in the country as part of the general elections. Army, Air Force and the Navy, I continue to maintain, all the three services are completely apolitical. They don't, and I repeat it again, that they don't belong to any one particular leader, one party, or for that matter, be it in the ruling one or the opposition. They are there for the country. They belong to the country as a whole. So I would say that it is very important not to politicize the operations or the forces as such. I have a question which is coming in. I agree that politicization of armed forces is always in bad taste, but why is it shocking in this election season when anything else has been given a political color by everyone? Well, that's a sad state of affairs. That if I don't have your name, but if you're asking why should one be surprised, it has become so normal. So it's a sad fact that one is not surprised when when there's a politicization of the armed forces, and it's a matter of concern. You should let the forces do their job. They are the best at doing their job. They will follow the orders given by the civilian leadership by heart. Be it if it was the UPA government earlier, we have the Narendra Modi government now, and whatever government that gets sworn in again, without any political affiliations, the armed forces will continue to do their job. And that is what they are best at. So yes, it's not just surprising, it's actually painful to see the armed forces being dragged into this whole election campaign. I've got a question which is again coming in saying that former Army Chief General Rodriguez too denies signing the letter, says not his words. Then who is doing this? Well, as I mentioned earlier, it's about 153 veterans who've come together and have this letter mentions 153 veterans. Some of them, including General Rodriguez as well as Air Marshal Suri, have gone on record and said that they have not signed this letter. But many others have actually gone ahead and accepted for the fact, including the former chiefs, have accepted for the fact that they have signed this particular letter that was sent to the Rashtrapati Bhavan. So yes, there are issues. There's a controversy over the, it's a controversy. I think the larger essence of the letter should not be missed, and that is that politicization of the armed forces should not be allowed. Be it from the ruling party, be it from the opposition, leave the armed forces out of politics. I have a question coming in from Siddhartha, who's asking, while Yogi's comments are wrong, it is not correct to say that forces are being politicized. What is being taken credit of by the government is the tough decision making. Siddharth, it's a very gray matter as far as I am concerned. There's no black and white when it comes to this particular comment. As I mentioned earlier, while the forces did a splendid job, the credit should also go to the civilian leadership for having taken this particular decision. Remember that had anything gone wrong with the particular operation, let's for assume, God forbid, in 2016, let's say while about 80 odd special forces personnel went across and some got injured, or there were casualties, or some were taken alive, the setback, the entire blame would have fallen at the doorstep of the civilian leadership. Same in the Balakot airstrike also, when 5 Mirage 2000 fighters went across POK and dropped the Spice 2000 on the Balakot camp. Had any had the Pakistanis retaliated, or they would have used the air defense systems, had anything happened, the blame would have gone to the civilian leadership. And hence I say the civilian leadership should be credited with the fact that they have taken a decision to go ahead and strike and teach Pakistan a lesson. But however, the politicization or the fact that the pictures of the Pulwama martyrs were put up on stage, where the speeches were being made, that is completely wrong. So yes, credit should go to the civilian leadership, but at the same time, the politicization or using the armed forces or using the Pulwama incident itself, where 40 personnel lost their lives, is absolutely shameful and is something that should be avoided completely. I've got a question coming in from engineer Ullah Hosseini, is asking, President of India is considered as the commander-in-chief of all the wings of the Indian military. How come any PM command our forces? Well, Hussaini, the fact is that yes, the president is the supreme commander of the armed forces, but the armed forces, that's a more of a ceremonial head. But the decisions, the decisions of any such operations lies completely with this elected civilian leadership, and the head of the elected civilian leadership is the Prime Minister. So it is the Prime Minister who will decide and give orders on whether the Indian Army, the Air Force or the Navy will have to carry out any operation as such. So yes, the President continues to be the ceremonial head, but the decisions would be taken by the Prime Minister at that particular moment. Thank you so much for logging in and sending in the questions. Please do continue to log in to our YouTube channel, as well as log in to our Facebook, ThePrint's Facebook account, and catch up with our set of splendid reporters who will come and answer questions to you around the same time tomorrow on the most important news of the day. Thank you so much for logging in and watching and taking part in this discussion.